When did your stable life explode on a TV screen during game night? I literally just watched my entire life explode on a 55-inch smart TV during a virtual game night, and I'm currently sitting in my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic in the parking garage of my apartment building, praying the Ring doorbell battery dies before he comes home. I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire, TBH. I feel like I need to type this out just to prove it actually happened because my brain is mush. Okay, so the setup. I'm Elijah Cox, 39M. I work as a social worker accompanying patients on their hospice journeys, which means my life is inherently stressful and emotionally draining, so when I get home I just want peace. I've been with Owen, 41M architect, supposedly for 2 years 8 months. We lived together in apartment 3B, split the $1,247 rent, and generally things were fine. Stable. Boring maybe, but stable. Spoiler alert, stable was a lie. We had this horrific monthly tradition of forced family fun. Since moving to different states during the pandemic, we started doing these mandatory Zoom game nights every Saturday at 7 p.m. sharp. Last night was the night. The cast of characters for this absolute disaster were all logging in around 6:50 p.m. First up, Owen's mom, Anne Gray, 51F. She is the textbook definition of a difficult in-law, always criticizing the way I load the dishwasher or the fact that I bought the Great Value brand of canned beans instead of Bush's. She's demanding, exhausting, and treats Owen like he's still 12. She was logging in from her condo in Florida, talking loudly about how the $43.67 grocery bill she saw on their shared credit card statement was excessive because she only buys organic. Then there was Randy Perez, 64M, Owen's stepdad. Randy is a piece of work. He used to be a religious extremist, constantly quoting Leviticus and telling me that my career choice was dark and ungodly. And GL, the man, has been softening up recently, like, he bought me a Talenti gelato last week without prompting, but he still occasionally slips up. Last night he was wearing a hideous Christmas sweater even though it's June, and you could hear him mumbling prayers over the router connection. Next, Jessica White, 21F, Owen's niece, who just finished her first year of college. She is relentlessly fatphobic and always has some cutting comment disguised as health concern. She immediately started the evening by talking about the 3 Panera bagels I stress ate yesterday. She joined from her dorm room, sipping a Starbucks iced matcha and dramatically sighing every time someone used a low-quality camera angle. Finally, Beverly Rogers, 69F, Owen's aunt. She's a workaholic CEO who has no time for anything that doesn't generate Q4 returns. She joined the call at exactly 7:01 p.m., already complaining about having to be there and clearly typing emails off-screen. She kept muting and unmuting herself to shout aggressive directives to an unseen assistant. We were playing Pictionary, which required Owen to share his screen so everyone could see the collaborative digital whiteboard. This is where I should have realized the universe was sending me a warning. Owen, 41M, is meticulous about everything except his digital life. He literally cannot remember passwords to save his life, and his desktop is always a horrifying mess of half-downloaded PDFs and screenshots. He was sitting next to me on the IKEA couch, trying to navigate the Zoom controls on his ancient work laptop. Okay, I'm going to share the screen, Owen said, trying to sound cheerful. He had been weirdly jumpy all day. Like 2 days ago, he had a Zelle transaction bounce back because his account was $347 overdrawn, which he blamed on the bank. I should have pressed him on that, but I was busy trying to find a decent therapy appointment, which is impossible with my current insurance deductible. He clicks share screen. The first immediate problem was his desktop. It was chaotic. Randy, the religious one, immediately went, "Owen, son, you need to clean your digital house." At his visual clutter, Jessica, 21F, piped up, "Seriously, uncle, it's giving major anxiety, just minimize everything." Owen laughed, that fake tight laugh he does when he's stressed. Yeah, sorry, too many project files." He starts minimizing windows fast to fast. He minimizes a browser window, then a Word doc titled Q3 Budget Revisions. Then he minimizes his open Discord app. I thought he only used Discord for gaming with his college buddies, whatever. And then it happened. The absolute core of the screen remained, and it was his text message app, clearly synced to his iPhone 14. He hadn't just minimized the desktop, he had minimized the apps over the desktop. For maybe 3 seconds before his shaking hand could click the messaging app closed, it was visible to everyone on the Zoom call, including my difficult in-laws. I saw 2 specific things. The first was the last text exchange, which was pinned to the top of the app. It wasn't me. It was a contact saved simply as L, the most recent message from L read. "I was serious, you need to leave her. You said you were going to handle the lease by Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. This is insane, I need my $200 back too." My stomach dropped straight through the IKEA couch and into the concrete foundation. I felt the blood draining from my face. I was literally shaking. Owen saw it too because his face went gray like a cheap painting washed out by rain. He slammed the laptop shut. The entire Zoom call went silent. Even Beverly, the workaholic, stopped typing. You could hear Randy's heavy breathing and Anne's sharp intake of breath, which sounded like a vacuum cleaner turning on. Owen fumbled the laptop off the cushion and set it down hard on the coffee table, making the glasses rattle. "Technical difficulties," Owen chirped way too brightly. "Zoom is being weird. I'm going to restart the computer. I'll be right back, folks." He immediately stood up and walked into the bedroom, slamming the door. And then the second, far worse thing happened because Owen, in his panicked, shaky attempt to shut down, hadn't actually exited the Zoom meeting. The camera was off, but the mic was still open. Anne Gray, 51F, who has zero filter, was the first to break the tension on the Zoom call. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice surprisingly loud over the microphone. Did anyone else see that text? What was that about leaving her? Jessica 21F, ever the sharp-eyed viper, said, yeah, I saw it. And Elle needs $200 back. Is Uncle Owen in debt again? I warned him about those Amazon Prime purchases. Randy Perez 64M then said in a low, gravelly voice that was filled with renewed religious judgment, that man is living in sin. I always knew he was hiding things. Elijah, honey, are you there? I was paralyzed. I was sitting there, still visible on camera, watching this horrific family drama unfold, and I felt like I was watching an out-of-body experience. My hands were visibly shaking. I wanted to scream, but we were technically still in a public forum and I couldn't move. Beverly Rogers 69F, surprisingly, was the one who added the final piece of immediate context. She said flatly, her voice tight with professional annoyance, Owen actually told me on Wednesday he was stressed because he'd accidentally double-booked the venue for the end-of-quarter client dinner. He said he was going to pretend one booking was Elle, his new junior partner. But wait, that person on the text was demanding money and talking about Elise. That wasn't a work colleague. I managed to choke out, wait, what are you saying? And Gray immediately jumped in, completely ignoring me and continuing to talk to Beverly like I wasn't even there. He's doing that thing he did with his ex-wife. Oh, I knew it. He hasn't paid the last 4 months of his student loan repayment plan. Beverly, I told you. Who is this Elle? I stood up. I walked over to the laptop, which was still technically in the Zoom meeting, muted the microphone on the actual computer, and then I addressed the Zoom window directly, looking at the collective horrified faces of my in-laws. I need to go, I managed, my voice sounding like broken glass. I need to talk to Owen. Anne was practically screaming into her camera, Elijah, don't let him lie, that lease comment. I bet he already found another apartment. Ask him about the $1,247 security deposit. I clicked leave meeting and the silence in the living room was deafening. The residual sound of Randy's final choked out, may the Lord save that boy, echoed in my ears. I stood there for a full minute looking at the dent Owen made in the coffee table. My mind was racing. Leave her. Handle the lease by Tuesday. I need my $200 back too. Who the fuck is Elle? And why did they think Owen was breaking our 12-month lease early? We literally just renewed it 6 weeks ago. The rage hit me immediately. I was devastated but also weirdly relieved because suddenly all the small things that hadn't been mathing started making perfect, horrifying sense. Remember that $347 overdraft. Remember the $85 plumber charge he claimed was for a leaky faucet but the plumber never showed up. Remember how he said he was working late at the office on the 5th floor every Tuesday and Thursday, but his Apple Watch never showed him hitting his 10,000 steps goal? I went into the bedroom. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, his old Samsung Galaxy sitting face down on the duvet cover. I kicked the door shut behind me hard. Who is Elle? I demanded, not yelling, but speaking in that dangerously low tone that means I am about 3 seconds from full meltdown. He didn't even try to deny it. That's the worst part. He didn't try to gaslight me or tell me I was crazy or that I remembered it wrong. He just sighed, that deep, defeated sigh that usually means he lost his keys. Elijah, please, he mumbled. It's complicated. It's not complicated, Owen. It was on screen during a family call with Randy and Anne and Beverly. Who is Elle? Why are you talking about leaving me, and why does Elle want $200 back? Was that the money you lied about using for the plumber? Are you trying to pay a new security deposit? He looked up and I saw real fear in his eyes. Elle is a person, he said. The audacity, the sheer audacity of this man. No kidding, Owen. Is Elle a man or a woman? Is Elle the reason you suddenly started buying the expensive scented soap from Trader Joe's and wearing cologne again? Is Elle the person you've been sneaking off to see on Tuesdays when you claimed you were in back-to-back Zoom meetings about Q3 planning? I was already grabbing my keys and my jacket. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my iPhone 14, which is almost full on storage naturally because I take too many pictures of my dog. I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment one more minute. I needed air. I needed to breathe. I needed Talenti gelato and a whole bottle of wine and maybe a crime scene investigator. I walked past him toward the door. He jumped up and grabbed my arm. Elijah, wait, don't be dramatic. It was just a stupid crush. It meant nothing. I was trying to handle the separation cleanly before it affected the rent situation. I already talked to the landlord. I wrenched my arm away. I looked him dead in the eyes. You already talked to the landlord? When? This is what I was afraid of. You weren't stressed about Q3 budgets. You were stressed about the damn lease. You are leaving me right now over a screen share accident on a stupid game night with your difficult mother and your religious extremist stepdad. And you were trying to handle it behind my back. I threw my coat on. Don't bother calling me. I'm going to crash at my friend Liam's place. Liam is the one who told me 2 months ago I should check Owen's Venmo history, and I told him he was being dramatic. Past me was such an idiot. Elijah, please, he pleaded, reaching for me again. I swear Elle doesn't mean anything. It was just someone I met. He stopped short because I had already opened the bedroom door and was halfway down the hall. Save it, I spat. I'm going to need the Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus passwords by 9 a.m. tomorrow, and I'm taking the dog. I walked out the front door of apartment 3B, slammed it shut, and didn't look back. I drove straight down to the nearest Target because Target parking lots are safe zones. Everyone knows that, and started typing this out at 1:56 a.m. I'm furious, I'm heartbroken, but I'm mostly just enraged by the sheer, unadulterated disrespect. And here's the kicker, the final detail that is keeping me awake and wired right now. While I was sitting here in the car, trying not to ugly cry all over my console, I checked my bank account. I saw a Zelle notification, $200 received. It wasn't from Owen. It was from Elle, and the memo line didn't say plumber refund or debt repayment. It said, "Sorry, he told me you knew about us since October." October, that's 8 months. 8 months of me cooking his favorite Chipotle bowls. 8 months of me listening to his work complaints. 8 months of me sitting through Randy's judgmental sermons. 8 months of me accompanying people on their final journeys while he was apparently planning his exit strategy with L. My head is spinning. I was done, just done. But now the rage is fueling something darker. I don't know who L is, but L is about to find out exactly what happens when you mess with the peace of mind of a 39-year-old hospice social worker who has zero PTO left and is tired of everyone else's emotional chaos. I need details. I need names. I need to know everything. And I need to figure out how to leverage the absolute train wreck of that Zoom call to make sure Owen and L regret ever trying to cut me out. I just need to figure out where to start digging because the revenge nuclear plan is officially activated. I'm just waiting for the right moment to deploy. But first, I need the name of L, and I think I know exactly who to ask, even though I know it's going to cause a massive, unforgivable explosion. I'm texting N Gray 51F right now. I don't care if it's 2:15 a.m. Me, Ann, I need L's name. You knew he was cheating, didn't you? The reply was instantaneous. Read receipt hit immediately. Ann, call me honey. I need to tell you what Randy just found out. It's not what you think, it's worse. What the actual fuck is worse than this? What is worse? I literally threw my phone against the Civic's dash when I read Ann's text. What the actual fuck is worse than this? What is worse? I stared at the glowing screen for maybe 2 minutes, just breathing too hard in the stale car air. And Gray, the difficult-in-law, the woman who once spent 45 minutes explaining why my socks were improperly folded, was about to become my primary source of intel. I hated this. I hated that I needed her. But the thought of worse was like a physical threat way past the normal cheating trauma. I called her. It was 2:17 a.m. She picked up on the first ring, which meant she was absolutely vibrating with nervous energy. Elijah, honey, thank God. Are you safe? Where are you? Her voice was low and frantic, the Florida condo background noise thankfully absent. I am in the Target parking lot. Don't worry about me right now. What is worse, Ann? Don't hold back. She sighed, a dramatic audible exhale that made me roll my eyes even while my heart was hammering against my ribs. Okay, Owen has always been a disaster with money, you know this. But Randy, you know how Randy is on those finance forums. He's always tracking some bizarre crypto coin or looking up tax loopholes, I swear. This is true. Randy Perez, 64M, the religious extremist parent, treats his personal finances like a holy mission. He once cornered me for an hour explaining the biblical significance of compound interest. Just get to it, Ann. When Owen slammed the laptop shut, Randy, that old fool, was fast. He was still logged into the Zoom call and he had his phone out. He didn't get a clear picture of the text, but he got just enough of the tabs Owen was trying to close. I waited, gripping the steering wheel. Remember the text from L asking for the $200 back and mentioning the lease by Tuesday? Ann asked. Yes, that's what started this. Randy didn't see that part clearly. What Randy saw was the open browser tab right next to Owen's messaging app. It was a local classified listing, a rental agreement. I felt a cold dread settle in my bones. A rental agreement for what? A new apartment for him and L? No, honey, that's the worst part. It was our apartment. Apartment 3B. Owen wasn't talking about moving out. He was trying to rent out our current apartment starting next month to some random couple named the Millers. I had to ask her to repeat that. He was trying to sublet our apartment while we are still living there. No, we just renewed the lease. That's what Randy figured out, Ann whispered conspiratorially. Randy tracked down the original lease documentation. He has a copy, don't ask me why, and he realized that when you guys renewed 6 weeks ago, Owen changed one thing without telling you. He changed the lease status from joint tenants to tenancy in common, where he had the controlling interest. I didn't know what that meant. I'm a social worker, not a lawyer. What does that mean, Ann? Use English. It means he set it up so that he could legally break the lease and rent out the place without your signature, as long as he gave you written notice of non-renewal on his behalf. He was planning to serve you with paperwork this Tuesday, collect the Miller's security deposit, and then use that money to pay L back and finance his new life, leaving you to deal with the logistics of moving out mid-July. I literally just sat there, mouth agape, staring at the empty drive-through window of the nearby Burger King. It wasn't just cheating, it was premeditated financial and housing destabilization. He wasn't just leaving me, he was making me homeless and bankrupting me in the process, all to fund his mistress $200 loan and his new security deposit. He was trying to pocket the security deposit for 3B, I confirmed, my voice flat. Yes, he was trying to double dip. Randy checked the rental listing. Owen was asking for $1,300 a month, which is $53 more than we pay, and the listing was pulled down 5 hours ago, which means he probably secured the deposit already. The rage I felt before was a flickering candle. This was a supernova. Thank you, Ann, I said, my voice dangerously calm. I need you to send me everything Randy found, every link, every document, everything. Of course, honey, I'm sending you Randy's phone number. Call him. He feels terrible about how he treated you, and honestly, seeing his son do this, Randy is having a full-blown existential crisis. He's ready to help you, Elijah. He's totally on your side. I hung up, processing. Randy Perez, the religious nut who claimed my job was ungodly, was now my ally because Owen's financial betrayal violated the tenets of good Christian stewardship or something. I'd take it. The enemy of my enemy is a surprisingly supportive source of documentation. I checked my phone and had already sent Randy's number and a massive, poorly organized email thread full of screenshots, half-completed legal forms, and links to rental listings. The Miller couple was real. The new lease agreement was real. Fast forward to Sunday morning, 8:00 a.m. I stayed at Liam's apartment, which smells faintly of old pizza and regret, but he was amazing. He didn't ask questions, he just brought me coffee and a notebook and said, start writing down the plan. Step 1, identify L. Step 2, find a lawyer. Step 3, burn everything. I hadn't slept, but I was powered by pure concentrated spite. I looked at the $200 Zelle payment from Elle again. Sorry, he told me you knew about us since October. Elle was not sorry. Elle was trying to buy my silence and my departure with $200. Okay, revenge nuclear plan phase 1 information gathering. I texted Randy. Randy, need to talk about Owen's laptop. Can you get me his passwords? I didn't expect him to comply, but Randy was apparently deep in his moral reckoning. Randy, son, I cannot condone theft of personal data. That is breaking the 8th commandment. But I recall that Owen, when stressed, always writes down his banking PIN and his main login on a sticky note attached to the underside of his desk lamp. The bronze one you bought him for safekeeping. I almost laughed. Owen's meticulousness was truly a facade. Liam drove me back to the apartment building, dropping me off at the corner store around 10:00 a.m. Owen's car was gone. He was probably out securing the lease or collecting another deposit from the Millers. I let myself into 3B. The silence was unnerving. I went straight to Owen's hideous bronze desk lamp, felt underneath the base, and sure enough, there was a worn post-it note with a 6-digit number. His master key password, which he used for everything from Netflix to his laptop login. I plugged in his ancient work laptop, typed in the password. It worked instantly. I was shaking again, but this time it wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. This felt gross and dirty, but I was justified. He was trying to make me homeless. I didn't need to deep dive into his DMs. I just needed the name of Elle and the extent of the financial damage. First, I checked the messaging app. Elle was still pinned. The profile picture was a blurry photo of a black cat. Useless. I scrolled down to the previous texts. They were full of the usual gross, saccharine nonsense. Missing you, can't wait for Tuesday. Did you tell her yet? Then I saw it. A text from Elle on April 12th. Elle, just confirming the address for the package delivery. Use my work address. I don't want Owen seeing it. Address attached. I immediately cross-referenced the address with Google Maps. It was a large, modern office building downtown. The kind of building where architecture firms and high-end marketing agencies live. I didn't recognize the address, but I took a screenshot. Next, the finances. I logged into Owen's bank account, which was shockingly easy. His account was indeed overdrawn by $347 a few days ago, just as he said. But the recent transactions were horrifying. $1,247 deposit from the Miller's deposit, the new tenants, $200 payment to Elle that I had already received a refund for, $500 payment to Local Movers LLC, $1,500 withdrawal labeled cashier's check lease security. He had already secured the next place. He had already paid the movers. He was completely gone, financially and emotionally. The only thing tying him to me was the fact that I was still sitting on his IKEA couch. But then I saw the recurring charge, $18.99 monthly, labeled coffee shop premium subscription. This was brand new. He always bought cheap instant coffee. I googled the merchant, the Golden Bean Coffee Roasters. That specific location was near the downtown office building I had just found on Elle's text message. Okay, Elle works downtown, probably at the office building from the text, and spends $18.99 a month on artisanal coffee. I needed to find Elle's full name. I went back to the laptop and opened the email app, hoping he hadn't cleared the trash. I typed Elle into the search bar, and there it was. An email from Owen 6 weeks ago forwarding the updated 3B lease terms to his work account Y and CCing his personal account. And right there below his work address was a third email address, Lee Harrington at GoldenDesignCo.com. L. Lee Harrington. I immediately went to LinkedIn. Lee Harrington, 34F graphic designer at Golden Design Co. The office was in that exact downtown building, and there she was, blonde, professional, and looking smugly competent. I screenshot the entire profile. I felt a weird mix of triumph and despair. Lee Harrington, not a junior partner, not a work colleague. Just a professional graphic designer who apparently loves expensive coffee and breaking up stable, boring relationships. I realized I couldn't afford a lawyer immediately. That $300 consultation fee that Liam mentioned felt like a mountain. But I had leverage. I had all the leverage. I packed a suitcase full of my things, taking all my good work clothes and every single roll of nice toilet paper. I also took the Talenti gelato Randy had bought me. It felt like a monument to my betrayal. Before I left, I deleted the master password post-it note Randy had given me. I didn't want him to know I still had access. I texted Owen the name I didn't want to call, I wanted it in writing. Me, Lee Harrington, 34F Golden Design Co. graphic designer. I see she's getting your $1,247 deposit money from the Millers. Good choice. I blocked him immediately. I wasn't ready for his pathetic excuses. Update Tuesday morning. The nuclear plan begins. So it's been 2 days since I found out Lee's name and Owen's entire plan to dump me and steal my housing security. I've been holed up at Liam's, calling around to legal aid services and trying to figure out how to navigate tenancy and common laws in our state, which are apparently a mess. The main problem, Owen had given me written notice of non-renewal, though I hadn't seen it. I checked our shared digital document folder. It was there, hidden in a file labeled Tax Docs 2022, dated last Thursday. Sneaky bastard. I was panicking about moving, but I was also waiting for Tuesday at 11:47 a.m., the exact time Lee told him he needed to handle the lease. I decided that Owen wasn't going to handle the lease. I called the landlord, Mr. Henderson, at 10:00 a.m. Mr. Henderson is ancient, forgetful, and only cares about getting his checks on time. Mr. Henderson, this is Elijah Cox, apartment 3B. Oh yes, Owen's partner, lovely chap. Everything all right with the Millers moving in next month? No, sir, everything is not all right. Owen has been attempting to illegally sublease our apartment by fabricating documentation and excluding me from the financial transactions. I sounded so professional, I almost believed myself. This is what stress does to you, it makes you sound like a paralegal. I explained the tenancy in common issue and the lease renewal forgery, because my signature was on that renewal, but the T&C part was added digitally by Owen afterwards. I had the original digital copy before Owen edited it, thanks to Randy's digital hoarding. Mr. Henderson was confused, but when I mentioned the words legal action and fraud, he started listening. Mr. Henderson, I want Owen removed from the lease immediately based on lease violation and fraud. I intend to remain in 3B, and I will assume full payment responsibility for the next 12 months starting immediately. I knew this was financial suicide. Rent on my own, $1,247 was going to decimate my hospice social worker salary. But the alternative, getting thrown out and having to find a new security deposit, was worse. Plus, this was about principle. This was about keeping my home, not Owen's planned exit strategy. I sent Mr. Henderson the proof from Randy's screenshots, the rental listing Owen made, the Zelle deposit from the Millers, and the forged lease addendum. Mr. Henderson, terrified of a lawsuit, agreed to terminate Owen's individual tenancy agreement immediately, citing material lease violation fraud. He promised to initiate the return of the Millers' $1,247 deposit directly to them, circumventing Owen entirely. Boom, phase 1 complete. Owen was homeless, not me. I also changed the Wi-Fi password to Lee Harrington sucks. Petty, extremely necessary, yes. Now for the fun part, leveraging the in-laws. I knew I needed to maintain my alliances, especially with Randy and Anne, even though Anne was still annoying me with texts about essential oils and healing crystals. I called Anne back around 11:00 a.m. Elijah, you sound better. Did you talk to Owen? No, I talked to the landlord. Owen is off the lease as of today. I'm staying in 3B. Anne screeched a sound like a tropical bird in distress. Oh my god, that's fantastic, honey. I always knew you had fire in you. Owen is going to be furious. That's the point. Now I need you to do me a favor, a big one. This is key to the nuclear plan. Anything, Elijah, name it. I need you to call Beverly Rogers, 69F, your sister-in-law, the workaholic CEO. She loves gossip, hates incompetence, and despises financial instability. Correct. That is Beverly in a nutshell, yes. Owen's firm is in the middle of a major, very stressful Q3 client dinner planning, which Beverly mentioned on the Zoom call. Remember how Owen was trying to use a double booking of a venue as an excuse for Elle? Yes, he said Elle was his junior partner. I need you to tell Beverly the full, unvarnished truth, not just the cheating, but the financial fraud. Tell her Owen was stealing deposits and attempting to defraud the landlord and me to fund his move with his 34-year-old graphic designer mistress, Lee Harrington. Anne was quiet for a moment. You want me to ruin his career, don't you? I want her to call his boss and ask very specific, probing questions about the Q3 budget revisions document I saw on his screen, and whether the company is aware their architect is committing fraud against his partner, his landlord, and prospective tenants. Anne paused. Consider it done, Elijah. I'll make sure Beverly sees this as a major operational risk. 3 days after the lease termination, I'm sitting in my apartment 3B alone with the dog, Mr. Waffles, a very confused dachshund. I have a restraining order filed mostly for paperwork purposes, but I haven't heard from Owen. He's probably crashing on Lee's couch, realizing he just gave up a perfectly decent apartment for nothing. The revenge felt good, but the quiet was crushing. I was supposed to be at my peak rage, ready for the next phase, but I was just exhausted. Work was awful. Trying to explain to a 78-year-old patient why she needed to sign a DNR while trying not to cry over my own apartment drama was rough. Then I got a voicemail from Jessica White, 21F. Remember the fatphobic niece who judged my Panera bagels? I assumed she was texting Owen to make fun of me. I listened to the voicemail. It was hesitant. Hi, Uncle Elijah, this is Jessica. I just heard what happened. My mom, Aunt Anne, told me. She also told me about the lease stuff. Look, I'm calling to say sorry. Not about the cheating, I mean that sucks, but about the lease. That's genuinely insane, Uncle, and about the bagel comments, that was actually me projecting. I haven't eaten properly in like 3 days because I'm so stressed about finals. I was just being an asshole, TBH. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I saw Aunt Anne's texts about you staying in the apartment. I'm coming home next week. If you need someone to help you change the locks, I have a surprisingly good toolkit. I listened to it 3 times. The fatphobic niece was apologizing and offering manual labor. The world had officially inverted. I realized this mess wasn't just tearing my life apart, it was fundamentally changing the dynamics of the entire Grey Perez clan. Owen was the anchor, and now that he was gone, everyone was drifting. Then came Randy. Randy showed up at my door that Friday evening. Wasn't wearing his hideous Christmas sweater. He was wearing a slightly stained polo shirt and holding a box from Costco. Elijah's son, may I come in? I hesitated. Randy, you can come in, but if you start quoting Leviticus, I'm closing the door. He looked genuinely pained. I don't think I can quote anything right now, Elijah. My entire belief system is crumbling. I thought Owen was a good, upright man. He was cheating, lying, and stealing. How can a man raised in faith? He trailed off. He handed me the box. It was industrial-sized boxes of Annie's mac and cheese. It's comfort food, Randy mumbled. I also brought this. He pulled a thick folder out of his jacket. My lawyer, he does property law. He owes me a favor because I helped him invest in rare coins. He will help you stabilize the lease situation, draft a demand letter for Owen's half of the furniture, and it's pro bono. I told him you were an innocent victim of fraud. I stared at the folder. Randy Perez was paying for my lawyer. Randy, why are you doing this? He sat heavily on the edge of the couch, looking old and tired. I spent 64 years judging everyone around me, my wife, you, your career. I preached about sin and righteousness, and my own son was a viper, quietly planning to destroy the life of the kindest man in the family. Okay, the kindest man might be a stretch, but I'll take the compliment. He paused. I realized that the truly ungodly thing isn't being a hospice social worker or buying cheap beans or being gay. The ungodly thing is intentional cruelty and financial deceit. I judged you for so long and I was wrong, Elijah. I am deeply sorry. It wasn't a perfect cinematic apology, but it was real. It was a 64-year-old man having his life view shattered and humbling himself. Thank you, Randy, I said, genuinely moved. I accept your apology, and the mac and cheese. Midweek, a week after the explosion, the revenge nuclear plan escalated when Beverly 69F called me directly. She sounded like she was dictating an earning report. Elijah, this is Beverly Rogers. Ann informed me of the situation with Owen. I immediately initiated a call to his firm, Thompson & Associates, about 5 minutes ago. I spoke directly with Mr. Thompson, the senior partner. I didn't mention cheating. I mentioned the unauthorized use of company resources, his work laptop for illegal financial transactions, specifically the attempted sublease fraud. I also mentioned the apparent falsification of documents relating to the Q3 client dinner venue booking, suggesting he double-booked and used L as an alias. What did Mr. Thompson say? I asked, sipping my awful instant coffee. I forgot to buy nice coffee. Mr. Thompson was appalled by the lack of professionalism. Owen was already under scrutiny due to that bounced Zelle payment. Financial instability is unacceptable in our industry, Elijah. I implied that Owen's integrity was compromised, and if he would defraud his partner and landlord, he could certainly defraud a client. I also suggested that Lee Harrington, the graphic designer, was potentially a co-conspirator, since she was clearly corresponding with him on firm time. The level of calculated destruction here was breathtaking. Beverly Rogers, CEO, was using her corporate power to ensure Owen and Lee faced maximum professional consequences. Did they fire him? He has been placed on indefinite administrative leave pending investigation effective immediately. I also strongly suggested that Mr. Thompson contact Golden Design Co. to warn them about Ms. Harrington's apparent complicity in fraudulent activities. We must protect the integrity of the professional services sector, Elijah. She hung up before I could thank her, probably needing to move $500 million in assets before noon. Owen's career was likely dead. Lee's professional life was probably taking a massive hit too. The beautiful irony of Owen being fired for using company time to plan his new life with Lee, who was now also potentially facing consequences, was not lost on me. I realized the revenge nuclear plan wasn't just about me getting revenge. It was about Owen's own terrible choices finally catching up to him, amplified by the people he annoyed most. His mother, his stepfather, and his corporate shark aunt all united against him because his specific form of betrayal, financial fraud, and incompetence was the one thing they couldn't tolerate: the showdown. It was late Friday afternoon. I was on the phone with Randy's property lawyer drafting the demand letter for Owen's portion of the shared assets. I wanted the good knife set and the smart thermostat. The Ring doorbell went off. I opened the video feed. It was Owen. He looked terrible. His suit was rumpled, he hadn't shaved, and he looked like he hadn't slept in a week. I didn't answer the door. I answered the ring. Elijah, I know you're in there. Please let me in. We need to talk. No, Owen, I don't need to talk to you. I'm on the phone with a lawyer Randy provided discussing the formal dissolution of our shared assets. His face went pale. Randy, you talked to my father. Why would he help you? Because unlike you, Randy understands what true betrayal looks like. He's paying for my legal fees, actually. That's what happens when you try to commit fraud and make your partner homeless to fund your cheating hobby. Elijah, you can't stay there. I already paid the deposit on the new place. I can't afford to lose that money. Then you should have thought of that before you forged a lease addendum. Mr. Henderson terminated your tenancy. The Miller's deposit is being returned to them, not to you. You are off the lease effective Tuesday. I'm staying. You are homeless, Owen. You did this to yourself. He started banging on the door. You ruined my life. You talked to Beverly. I've been placed on leave. This is your fault. No, Owen, I said calmly. It's your fault. You put your entire life on screen during Pictionary. You were caught in a lie and decided to commit fraud to cover it up. I just leveraged the inconvenient truths you broadcast to your entire family. The only thing I did was call the landlord and your mother. I ended the connection. He continued to bang on the door for a few more minutes, shouting vague threats, and then he left. I saw him get into a beat-up Toyota Camry, not his usual leased BMW. He must have returned that and drive away. It felt incredibly empowering. It was the absolute opposite of the shame and paralysis I felt on Saturday night. 3 weeks later, the resolution sort of. The fallout has been messy. I am officially living alone in 3B. The financial stress is brutal. I immediately took on extra consulting work, helping another agency with grief counseling on weekends, just to make sure I hit the $1,247 rent. I'm eating a lot of Randy's mac and cheese. I got a formal, professionally drafted letter from Owen's lawyer. He had to hire one eventually, demanding I pay him for the couch and the 55-inch TV. Randy's lawyer is handling the countersuit, demanding repayment for all the shared debt Owen had racked up on our credit card before the breakup. It's going to drag on, but I feel protected now. Lee Harrington L. reached out to me via text using a burner number. L. I heard what happened with Owen's job. That was unnecessary. You know, you don't look very healthy in your Facebook photos. Maybe stress is catching up to you. You should focus on your health, not on revenge. I laughed out loud. The level of delusion. She was still trying the fatphobic judgment tactic. I screenshotted the text and sent it to Jessica White 21F. Me, look what L just sent me. Still on the health kick, I see. Jessica replied instantly. Jessica L. is a menace. I'm filing a formal complaint with her firm's HR department for harassment, referencing the attempted fraud and workplace misconduct. I already looked up Golden Design Anonymous Reporting System. My mom is pissed about Elle dragging her into this too. This isn't over. PS, your weight is fine, Uncle Elijah. You need to stress eat. I just stress ate an entire frozen pizza. LOL. Jessica, the fatphobic niece, was now running the character assassination campaign against Lee Harrington. I didn't even have to lift a finger. The secondary revenge wave was fueled entirely by my in-laws' various moral and ethical hangups. Owen's mother, Anne, is still texting me daily, usually about how she is managing her disappointment through yoga and telling me how proud she is of me for setting boundaries. She's demanding, exhausting, but she is now firmly on Team Elijah. The reflection. It's been over a month since the screen share accident. I've had to process 8 months of lies in 30 days. I'm exhausted. I realized that stability wasn't the lie Owen was. I confused the routine, the shared rent, the forced family game nights with real intimacy and trust. My job is literally centered around emotional processing and death, and I completely failed to see the warning signs in my own living room. I was so focused on helping others transition, I missed the fact that my own relationship was in hospice care. I am sleeping better now, though. The anxiety is still there, but it's the good kind of anxiety, the kind that makes you pay bills on time and check your lease documents twice. I had a low moment last week. I was folding laundry and found one of Owen's socks under the bed. A stupid, fluffy gray sock. I almost cried. But then I remembered the $1,247 deposit he tried to steal, and I just threw the sock straight into the garbage disposal. Much more cathartic. I don't know what comes next. I still have no PTO. I still have to work extra shifts. But I have my apartment, the dog, Randy's lawyer, and a suddenly very functional, if slightly judgmental, support system composed of my ex-boyfriend's horrified family. I realized I didn't have to execute the full revenge nuclear plan myself. All I had to do was light the fuse, calling Anne, and let the specific flaws of the supporting cast, Anne's drama, Randy's moral code, Beverly's corporate ruthlessness, Jessica's newly redirected spite, take care of the blast radius. The mess isn't resolved. The divorce lawyer is going to be expensive. But I'm alive, I'm safe, and I'm laughing more than I should be. Yesterday I bought the expensive canned Bush's beans just because I could. I screenshotted the receipt and sent it to Anne. She replied immediately, "Good choice, honey, only the best for you. Did you remember the organic chicken broth for the stew? Some things never change. Anyway, that's the update. I'm going to finish this mac and cheese and maybe check if Randy can help me refinance my car loan. Turns out he's surprisingly useful when he's not talking about the rapture. I'll update you all if Owen tries to break in or if Jessica successfully gets Lee fired. But for now, I'm just enjoying the silence. And the fact that I changed the Netflix password to something Owen would never guess. Panera Bagel Slayer 1, petty, yes, but I earned it."